In this video, I'm going to talk about how to gain weight, lose weight, or maintain your weight by controlling your blood sugar. If you've tried to lose weight in the past and have had difficulties, this video should help you understand why. And if you've tried to gain weight in the past and have had difficulties, hopefully this video will explain that too. The information in this video is based on some basic understandings of biochemistry and how the body works. But biochemistry is a pretty complex subject, and I'm not trying to give a lecture on biochemistry. I'm just trying to explain how we can lose, gain, or maintain our weight. So I'm going to be simplifying some of those concepts to make this really easy to understand. So your body is comprised of cells, and every cell in your body needs fuel in order to survive and continue doing its very important function. Your blood is actually the fuel line that carries all of those nutrients and all of that energy to the different cells in your body. So your bloodstream and your blood itself is very important for making sure that your entire body gets the nutrition and the energy that it needs. When there is too little fuel in your bloodstream, your body is literally at risk of dying. And likewise, when there's too much fuel in your bloodstream, your body is also literally at risk of dying. So the amount of fuel in your bloodstream is generally called blood sugar. And when there is too much sugar in your blood, they call that hyperglycemia. And when there's too little sugar in your blood, it's called hypoglycemia. So again, both hyperglycemia and hypoglycemia are life-threatening conditions, and the body goes to great lengths to regulate blood sugar and try to maintain the level of fuel in the blood. So the body responds in a certain way when your blood sugar is too high, and it responds in other ways when your blood sugar is too low. And it's these responses to your blood sugar that are the key to losing, gaining, or maintaining your weight. So it looks a little something like this. When your body's experiencing high blood sugar, your body releases a hormone called insulin. And insulin tells your cells to soak up that extra energy out of your bloodstream. When you're having low blood sugar, your body releases a hormone called glucagon. And glucagon tells your cells to start reaching into the fuel reserves. Now you'll notice these two things are really diametrically opposed. You have insulin on the one hand and you have glucagon on the other, and they really work like a switch. If glucagon is on or being released, then insulin is not. And if insulin is being released, then glucagon is not. So too much fuel or too high of a blood sugar is going to cause you to release insulin. Insulin tells you to store that excess energy as fat and is going to cause you to gain weight. Conversely, if your blood sugar is too low, you're going to release glucagon, and that's going to help you reach into your fat reserves and use the energy you already have, and it's going to cause you to lose weight. But again, you can't have both at the same time. You can't have low blood sugar and high blood sugar at the same time, and you can't have insulin and glucagon working at the same time. So essentially, it's impossible to lose weight while you're gaining weight, and vice versa. For the purpose of this video, we're going to say that there are 4 types of fuel that your body can burn. They are glucose, or sugar, glycogen, the starchy form of glucose, proteins, and fats. Now, in actuality, there are several different types of sugars, proteins, and fats, but this isn't a lecture on biochemistry, and we're going to keep it simple. Glucose is a basic sugar, and it's actually the primary form of fuel that your body burns. When you go to the doctor and they're testing your blood sugar, they're actually testing the amount of glucose in your blood. This is also why blood sugar might be called blood glucose. Now, glycogen is a starch, which is really just a string of glucose molecules all strung together. When you consume too much glucose, your liver can actually string some of those glucose molecules into glycogen and store that glycogen in your liver and your muscles. And this is really the immediate reserves. This is really the first barrier between you and low blood sugar. The immediate reserve that your body will start reaching into when your blood sugar starts getting too low. Proteins are the basic building blocks of every cell and every tissue in your body. Protein can be used for fuel in a pinch, but usually proteins are used to build and repair the cells in your body before they're used as fuel. Fats, like proteins, are also used to compose different cells and tissues in your body, like your brain. Fats are also used for the long-term storage of excess energy that may be found in your body and that needs to be stored and taken out of your blood. Now, this is extremely important because your body has really set up a hierarchy of fuel storage. It's kind of like having multiple fuel tanks. The first fuel tank is your blood itself. Now, at any given time, there's glucose floating around in your blood based on whatever the last thing that you ate was. And at any time, cells can pull glucose from your blood when they're in need of energy. The second fuel tank is the glycogen that is stored in your liver and your muscle tissues. The third fuel tank is your fat reserves. This is technically called your adipose tissue, and that's all of your extra padding. The fourth fuel tank is actually the proteins that are composing all of the tissues in your body. And in case of extremely low blood sugar, your body will actually start to metabolize those proteins and metabolize itself. So moving around, exercising, doing stuff is what burns fuel, and eating adds fuel. I know that seems ridiculously simple, but we still get questions all the time of people asking, what do I eat to lose weight? And what they're really asking is, how do I empty my fat fuel tank? Now, if eating is adding fuel, then you're not going to be able to lose weight by continuing to eat. But we're not telling you to starve yourself. Certainly there are some foods which contain more fuel than others. But the bottom line is, moving around is what burns fuel, and eating is what adds fuel. So what happens when you eat too much? Your blood sugar gets high, and your body releases insulin to help lower your blood sugar or your blood glucose levels by pulling some of that excess fuel out of your blood and sending it off for storage. Now, if you're exercising, then your second fuel tank, your glycogen fuel tank, won't be full, and your liver will be able to take that glucose, turn it into glycogen, and store it in your liver or your muscles. But if you aren't exercising, then that glycogen tank is going to be full, and it's going to go on to that next fuel tank, the fat fuel tank. This is when you're going to start growing more adipose tissue and actually becoming more overweight. This is the cause of weight gain. And what happens when your blood sugar gets too low? Well, if you eat a typical high-carb, high-fat diet like most Americans do, you're probably going to get one hell of a sugar craving. You'll reach for a soda or some Ho-Hos or a bag of chips, and that food will turn into glucose and replenish your blood sugar. But what happens if you can't find a McDonald's, or you get stuck at work for 5 hours and you can't take a break to eat a bite? This is when your body will release the hormone we discussed earlier, glucagon. And glucagon tells your body to start burning up those extra fuel reserves. So it'll go into the glycogen fuel that is saved in your liver and your muscle tissues. And it's this glycogen which is really saving and preventing your cells from starving at any given moment. If the demand for energy is high, as if you are exercising or doing something like that, then your body will actually start to metabolize fats and proteins for fuel as well. So now our chart looks something like this, and this is really all you need to know about weight loss and weight gain. So you'll notice in a high blood sugar situation, your body is really only burning up the carbs and sugars that are present in your blood, that very first fuel line. And it's only in a low blood sugar situation that your body even starts to dip into those excess fuel reserves. So your glycogen, your fat storage, and in cases of extreme starvation, even your muscle tissues. So if there is insulin in your bloodstream, you will not lose weight. And if there is glucagon in your bloodstream, you will not gain weight. If you spike your blood sugar before you empty your glycogen reserves with exercise, then that excess fuel is going to be turned straight into fat. And if your blood sugar goes low and you don't immediately binge on carbohydrates, then the glucagon is going to cause you to start reaching into those excess reserves and start burning fat and losing weight. So again, it's a switch, and switches say on or off, A or B. So it looks a little something like this. Now this is perfectly in line with the statement that in order to lose weight, you have to burn more calories than you consume, and in order to gain weight, you have to consume more calories than you burn. But the real secret to losing weight or gaining weight is intentionally controlling your blood sugar levels. So if you want to gain weight, and this is strictly adding fat storage, this is not about adding muscle mass, but if you want to add fat to your body, then you really need to overeat. What you need to do is be spiking your blood sugar often enough that you're stimulating the release of enough insulin that your body is pretty much constantly storing fat. And if you want to lose weight, you've basically got 3 options. 1, undereat. 2, eat a low-carb diet. And 3, engage in fairly vigorous exercise. These are the 3 natural ways to stimulate your body's release of glucagon without drugs or hormone therapy. In the case of undereating, this is what most people would call a starvation diet or calorie restriction, and fasting is probably the most extreme form of undereating. When your blood sugar starts getting too low, your body will release that glucagon and you'll start burning through your excess fuel tanks and that excess fatty tissue that you want to get rid of. In the case of a low-carb diet, you're eating foods that cannot immediately be used as fuel. In this way, you're going to keep your blood sugar lower, or at least relatively maintained, because it's really just the carbs and sugar that are going to spike your blood sugar and cause you to release insulin. When you're eating a low-carb diet, then your body is releasing more glucagon and telling you to reach into those excess fuel reserves to burn the fats and burn the proteins. And when you exercise, you're actually burning up a lot of that glucose out of your blood and causing your blood sugar to lower. And that lowering blood sugar is going to cause the release of glucagon. And to really drive home this point, it's important to recognize that our bodies were really not made to be sedentary. We were made to move and move around, and you're going to feel a lot better and have a much healthier body if you're engaging in regular, vigorous exercise. Now, one more comment on low-carb diets and losing weight. It's important to realize that really the only way to excessively spike your blood sugar is by eating a lot of carbs, because those carbs instantly turn into energy and into glucose in your bloodstream. But if you're eating fats and proteins, it's going to be virtually impossible to give an extreme spike in your blood sugar. This is because the metabolic processes that are needed to convert fats and proteins into usable energy are just way too extensive and way too time-consuming to excessively spike your blood sugar. Now, that said, if you weren't eating any carbs, then your body would be forced to start metabolizing your excess fuel tanks, your fats and your proteins, and you would actually begin to lose weight. If your body is releasing insulin because you're eating too many carbs and your blood sugar is way too high, then you're not going to be able to lose weight. And a quick comment about exercising. You don't have to do hours and hours of exercising in order to reap the benefits and start losing weight. You really just have to burn through the sugar that's currently in your blood. Get your blood sugar low enough so that you release some glucagon and your body starts burning through those excess fuel tanks, your glycogen and your fat storage. Now, it really only takes about 20 or 30 minutes of good cardio exercise to stimulate that process. You need to get your heart pumping, and you need to get to the point where you're pretty much out of breath. So when you're exercising and glucagon has been released, you're going to be burning fat for the next several hours, and you'll actually be burning fat until you spike your blood sugar again. As soon as you load up again with carbs and spike your blood sugar, you're gonna then release insulin, and you're gonna move out of the fat burning process and into the weight gain process. So it's not so much about the amount of calories that you burn during the exercise itself, it's just about getting your blood sugar low, causing that release of glucagon, and then keeping your blood sugar low by avoiding a huge carb load for a few hours after you exercise. So if you combine all three of these tips, 1. Undereat calories while still getting the nutrition that you need. 2. Eat a low-carb diet, or in general, prevent huge spikes in your blood sugar. And 3, exercise 20 to 30 minutes of good, vigorous cardio every day. The pounds will just begin melting off. On a side note, whole fruits are low-calorie dense foods. Even though they contain carbs and sugars, they're not considered high-carb foods. Because they contain fiber and other nutrients, they generally are not going to cause a significant blood sugar spike when you eat them. Starches like bread, corn, wheat, rice, and potatoes are high-calorie dense foods, and these will spike your blood sugar. This means they're going to stimulate the release of insulin and cause weight gain. If you're trying to lose weight, you want to avoid starchy foods and foods that contain refined sugar. But don't make the mistake of thinking that you can't enjoy colorful fruits and vegetables. And if you want to gain weight, you do the exact opposite. 1. Overeat. 2. Eat a high-carb diet. 3. Don't exercise. By overeating, you ensure that you constantly have excess energy that's going to have to be stored as fat. And by eating high carb, you ensure that you'll be constantly spiking your blood sugar, constantly releasing insulin, and constantly gaining weight. And by not exercising, you'll be ensuring that your blood sugar never goes low enough to stimulate the release of glucagon, which would cause you to stop gaining weight and cause you to start burning fat. And if you are someone who is overweight, then this is probably exactly how you got there. Overeating, eating high carb, and not getting enough exercise. In this video, we talked about how you can gain, lose, or maintain your weight by manipulating your blood sugar. And in a future video, we're going to take a closer look at these concepts and ask, how did 7 out of 10 Americans become overweight or obese? So there's a crap load of diets out there, and usually they're really extreme, really complex, and they all have completely conflicting information in them. One diet tells you to eat 30 bananas a day, and another diet tells you not to eat more than 18 grams of carbs per day, which is like less than an apple. So who's right? Which is it? In a future video, I'm going to give you the one end-all be-all perfect diet that really could help anyone get healthy and lose weight. If you haven't done so already, I hope that you'll give me a thumbs up. And if you liked this video, please share it with your friends because they would probably appreciate this information as well. The typical American diet is a high-carb, high-fat diet. And to find out why this is a recipe for weight gain, you can check out my video, How Fast Food Equals Fat You. Would you believe that bite for bite, white bread actually contains more calories than ice cream? To find out how many calories are really in the foods we eat and what calorie density has to do with weight gain, check out my video on calorie density. If you've ever felt like you are addicted to certain foods or there's certain foods you just can't resist, you should check out my video, Fast Food Proven Addictive. Are we being fattened up just like farm animals? If you feel like the food industry is fattening you up, check out my video, Are We Fattened Up Like Farm Animals?